So what's making Georgia different than everybody else? You got Michigan, Ohio State, the Dogs, the Gators, Alabama. What's the difference? Kirby talked about this after going undefeated for a third season in a row in SEC play on Saturday night at Tennessee.
Yeah, Kirby talked about it being their culture. Our culture is the difference. And then he goes into a little bit about selflessness. And I think that's really what it is.
I think it is.
He said that they've convinced these players, they've bought into the idea that you don't need to take credit for this and that. It's a team. They are playing for something bigger than themselves. There's no I in team. That's what the difference is for Georgia.
Well, there is me, though.
There is a me. There's a me in that MFer. Isn't that what Jordan said?
Something like that. No, these guys are – I do think they're close, and I do think that matters. They're not a professional football team. They are guys that are going to classes, got NIL deals, they've got workouts, they've got all this stuff. There is a particular bond. Quick story. I remember Jake Fromm and DeAndre Swift screaming not very happily with Jake Fromm as they were leaving the field in 2019. I can't remember if it was the Kentucky game or the A&M game or something. What Kirby's done, and that's an example. There's no telling that can happen now. I don't know, but we don't see that. But there's something has gotten better in this program. It is more selfless. They have matured. They've. I think that's the biggest thing is they've matured in a strange way. I mean, because you went from steadiness of Jake Fromm for 3 years to chaos for a year between the quarterbacks, and then chaos halfway through the 21 season. But all the while, the maturity, I would say, of Jordan, etc. I mean, I think that matters.
Yeah, they care about each other, man.
They do.
And you remember 21 when they started those skull sessions.
That's what I'm talking about.
Learning about each other.
That's what's changed.
All of these monikers and phrases and everything that Kirby Smart has come up with, it connects them.
It does.
Right? And connection is one of the key phrases that he uses. Are all of these guys best friends? No. There's too many of them. It just doesn't work like that. But they understand, hey, that guy's this is why he's doing this.
Why is Ladd McConkey playing hurt? Yeah. Why is Brock Bowers busting it just to get back? You know, the other example of things is, well, there's two examples. A, the Brock Bowers example from Kirby talking about agents that encourage him not to play. But B, and I think more importantly, the SEC Inside with Georgia Carolina at the beginning of the season. I said I've answered this question a couple of times. When did you think Georgia's going to win the championship in 2021? It was the Vanderbilt game. When did you think it was in 2022? I can't remember the Oregon game. It was very quick.
The first 15
minutes.
When
was it for me this year? And I said it at the time to y'all. I know, but I think I said it on the film. I said that's how you coach. B, I would not all be surprised if the guys win it again because they know they understand and trust. They trust themselves and they trust their peers on the field. But I don't know if there's been as obvious a moment. But when I saw that, I was like,
this
is the SEC Insider at the Carolina halftime. I was like, that is how you run an organization right there. Because the guys care. See, it's not Kirby. Kirby's not having to correct things. They're doing it themselves.
Yeah, for me, that moment this year was Auburn. Which is not too dissimilar from the South Carolina moment.
We saw this in person.
We saw, it's like when you're trying to kill a bug and you're trying to stomp a bug, you got to really stomp that bug. I'm probably making noise with the mic, but you have to make sure that it's dead.
Take the life out of it.
You have to make sure that it's dead, and that's what you have to do with Georgia. And they showed that there's not a moment too big for them.
No, all that stuff sounds really hokey, and it kind of is sometimes. You can see that fall apart in programs.
Yeah.
But it's not.
They're running a tight show around.
It's not fake. I mean, it's not fake. Mark Richt's faith was not fake. That wasn't something that he no, that's who Mark is. In terms of what is this program, they believe in each other. They believe in themselves. You could see that. They believe in each other. Let's not forget at the beginning of the season, Javon Bullard was not playing. Ladd McConkey was not playing. There were a lot of Georgia had to figure out a lot of stuff in terms of injuries and so forth to get them to where they are today. But I think that a lot of that was self-belief, frankly. You know, and I believe one of the best decisions you can make, frankly, is checking out our friends at EcoPoly. These are different. I don't know what these are called.
This is my favorite EcoPoly.
Because this is actually featured at Red Zone, right?
This one is at Red Zone, correct?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's a red and black, and you can get them
little
in multiple colors.
marriage of the deals we got.
Yes,
little marriage of the deals we got.
Yeah, I mean, it's comfortable. It's easy. We use it all the time. 20-year warranty. This is not wood, y'all. This is recycled plastics that they have shipped in. They manufacture everything in Dodge County. Hopefully, they're still in the playoffs. I think they were. I can't remember if they are. But anyway, down there in the heart of Georgia, they're making it. It's a cool process. We got to see it play out. Yeah. We're going to see how this rest of this season plays out, man. I mean, are they going to close this thing out or not? But whether they do or not, they're tight. Now, I will say, I think that Michigan now has it's not artificial. They have a thing with Jim Harbaugh now that they can act like, but you don't want to manufacture, you want to manufacture good stuff like this. You don't want to manufacture stuff like, oh, well, we're tight because of, bet and free Jim Harbaugh and due process and all that stuff. Just go play football, man.
I was confused. I didn't know what you meant at first. I didn't realize you were talking about the tweet.
And why are we tweeting? Just go play.
Yeah. No, it's authentic. It's authentic here.
It's authentic. Yeah. Here. And I'm not saying it's not at Michigan.
No.
But
I guess what is your point?
My point is, what if Jim Harbaugh were not suspended? Would you be all fired up for something? I mean, you don't want to manufacture stuff. Now, Georgia does that sometimes. Nolan Smith did that last year, talking about how they
sometimes that's just what happens, and
that's annoying, though.
That's kind of what Michigan's got to deal. That's what the players have to deal with right now. And so I'm gonna cut JJ McCarthy some slack for the quote tweet or quote repost.
Man. I don't know what it's called.
Can I say retweet?
I don't know what the rules are.
It's a great word.
It's
a great word.
It's like calling milk, something completely different than what it is. It's milk, it's a tweet. So I think that Georgia, where their situation is right now, in terms of the difference between them and other, I'm like, is Clemson as close as they used to be? My guess is they are. They just the way they are. I mean, I think
to championship.
Oh no, I know they're not that. I'm
is Clemson as close as it used to be to what? As it used to be as a program.
Yeah, I think they might be. The difference is, they don't have players like they used to have. Georgia does. Yeah. Is LSU tight? I mean, I don't know.
It's not just that. It's a bunch of things that creates championship teams. But the element of everyone really caring. Think about 2019 LSU. That was a culture thing too.
Oh yeah.
Remember Joe Burrow running out there with the Burrow? Yeah. However you spell it, EAUX or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a culture thing.
Well, there are moments in time, see, and
Jordan Davis,
the 05 Georgia team with Shock and Keelan and Tim Jennings and Amiri Mentor, those guys were close. Russ, Ryan Schnitzer, Thomas Brown, that was a group of really mature guys. And then by 07, that group was an older group then sometimes too. It seems like Georgia's older and older as time goes on. There are some younger players playing. You can't call Malachi Starks young. He's a sophomore, but he's not young.
Not in terms of playing experience.
Right. So everybody's got a vested interest in this thing. That's the other thing, I think, too, is just from on the sideline, you can hear and see a lot of stuff. They're never freaking out. That just doesn't happen. They just don't panic. And they have a belief in themselves. That's the other thing. They're not cocky. They have a belief in what they can do. And Kirby would tell you, and I think this is true, that during the week they form that. That's where it happens. It happens with preparation. I think Carson's used the word preparation. I can't tell
Carson
you how many
Beck
times.
has used it.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, because they're spending every possible moment they can preparing.
And you remember
they called it every week is a season.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do think they don't look forward past the weekends. I'm starting to believe them.
Well, yeah, you're drinking the Kool-Aid.
I got a couple sips of their Kool-Aid.
I will say, sometimes, not all the time, Kirby's family comes into the post game, and he was talking about that was referenced. The only reason I bring it up is he said, they're the ones that have to deal with me during the week. I bet that's great fun sometimes. But
I don't know how much he's around during the week.
Well, but that's
but that's what he means.
I mean, that matters. Let me tell you. But I do think that there's no tug away from what they're trying to do. Whether you're talking about Jerry or Josh Brooks or the Smart family, the parents are around a lot. Everybody is laser focused on this thing, which allows the team then to say, okay, this is not just about me. I'm trying to better myself through this process that is winning football games at Georgia. It's always easy to look at the celebration and say, man, they just got better players. Well, they do have better players, but it's not just that. They also buy in together and they're developed. Carson Beck is not the Carson Beck of 2021. Okay? He's just not. He's an adult. A lot of times, Zamir was always an adult. There are a lot of adults on this program, and part of it's growing up in college, but Carson Beck has grown up a lot, and that matters too. That's not by accident.
No, it's not. And he waited his turn. He could have left. That's another big piece of this whole thing.
Guys don't really leave.
Guys don't leave very often.
Mm-mm.
They don't leave very often. And they don't go and grab guys either that much because they want to build the culture from the jump. That Kirby talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the year when he was getting asked about the transfer portal. We would rather go and pick guys out at high school. They want to create those classes and develop those guys from a young age so that they're ready when it's their turn. And sometimes the turn comes immediately. That's how it was for Malachi Starks.
I can't remember who I was talking to. I think it might have been my dad was saying something about it. No, it was a former football player.
Okay. Specific.
A former All-SEC football player. And I said, no, they're not. That person's not playing yet, but give it a year or two, and these guys just, boom, they just play, and they're good. It's so.
Was there a specific player you were talking about?
It was Drew Bobo. I was like, I don't know. I said he's played. But I said, all you gotta do is 2 years later, it's just like a factory. Dylan Fairchild.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while. Hardly played, and then boom, he's just or Blasky or it's not just the starters. It's everybody. You see Lindbergh coming off on 85 number all the time.
78.
No, but he wears 85 more than he does 78 because
he's the special teams deal.
Yeah, Austin. Oh man, I forgot Austin's last name.
Blasky.
No, from South Georgia. They're asking offensive linemen to go play special teams a lot of times and change numbers. Austin Bynum. Sorry, I said Alden Bynum. Excuse me, I said Austin. Alden Bynum. Alden Bynum was in on the play that Georgia won the national championship, won the Rose Bowl game. You don't know who that is, do you?
No.
That's my point. That's my point, is that this never ends with these guys. Alden Bynum was a reserve offensive lineman from South Georgia. And that guy was asked to do particular things. And he bought in. That was the second season, but he bought in. And it started with Nick and Sony and Roquan and Lorenzo and Davin and all those guys who came back. Or Roquan didn't come back, but he was a total adult. And it's not by mistake that they're this good. They go get really good players. They have the best players, and then they get them to do what they have to do, and they adjust. The coaching is outstanding.
Yeah, and I think with NIL being a factor now and some things we learned earlier in this football season, they're going to prioritize the right guy over talent. Yes. And getting the right personalities and getting people that they think they can develop and is going to buy into what they want versus, oh man, we've got to spend the money to go get that football player.
They won't. I mean,
it's not.
They won't do it.
To this point, it hasn't.
Have not happened. Yeah. No, we know of a very specific situation where Georgia was like, "Hey, we would like to sign you, but it might just not be a fit." And when you have the luxury of doing that,
but when it comes down to that, that's where it's like, well, maybe this
might
really
not
isn't
be a fit.
the fit. Yeah.
Exactly. Culture is an overused term. often in a good way, but it is overused. They just know what they're doing, and either you get it or you don't. And that's probably the best way I would put it is, either you get it and you're ready to work and do the work, or you're not. Because, Kirby was talking about this week at Tennessee about how the hard work is not the game day, it's everything leading up to. That was where the family comment came from. But it's right. If you're prepared, it's really not a mistake. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.